Welcome to Chess, ladies and gentlemen. Man, hold on, bro. You can't just you can't just surprise me like that, man. You gotta let me know when you're stopping by, so I could be ready. Let me get okay, cool. Yeah, I'm ready to go. So I went ahead and jumped back, and I do have the round 11 game between Wesley and Elshan Moradiabadi. So I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. It's a nice game, if I do say so myself. So, of course, for all my people that are coming from the Philippines, I would say mabuhay to you. Kamusta na aking makaibigan. Hello ulit. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Anybody who is coming from, so Elshan is originally from Iran. So anybody who does speak Persian or also known as Farsi, I will say salam. And Kheli Mamnoon for coming by and taking a look at my stuff real quick. Man Kelvinam, at your service. But yeah, man, if you guys are ready to go, let's take a look and see what we got for this game, man. So we got the move E4. We got C5. So we have the Sicilian defense, as it's known. Pretty popular opening. I think probably a couple of you guys out there have heard of it. We do see knight to F3, and then we do see the move A6. Now, as you guys know, especially you guys that play Sicilians yourself, this is a very common theme. So it's not just in the Najdorf. You have some, right now it is the Sicilian defense O'Kelly. But I mean, you also have like timing off type situations going on. A lot of different types of pawn movements and stuff like that. I mean, basically, when you move the C pawn, you do kind of leave a little bit of a hole behind. So when you do want to push D6 or even D5 in some cases, it does kind of leave your diagonal open. So A6 just kind of prevents like bishops and knights and stuff from coming up here. So, all typical stuff. And we do see the move C3 by white. And so we kind of have a similar, idea as far as white is concerned, just like how black is employing. We do see the immediate D5, but let's just toss kind of a lazy move on the board. Let's just say H6 happens, right? What white is wanting to do with this C3 move, they are wanting to go D4, and then hopefully pawn takes, and then pawn takes, and you see you have a really, really beautiful center as white. And so same as black, like I said, I mean, we've used the wing pawn to trade it and get over here on the D file. So, something good. But, black says, bro, you're not doing any of that. I'm attacking your E4 pawn immediately. Pawn takes D5. We got knight to F6. We do see the move D4 now. Pawn takes D4, and then we toss in as Weishenza, queen to A4 check. And then we do see queen to D7. So queen takes D7. We got bishop taking D7. And then we have the protecting move C4. There's not really a good way for black to kind of hold on to the pawn. So the first thing we want to do is kind of like, make sure our pawn chain is cool before we go grabbing pawns. And then immediately we see E6 hitting that. Of course, if we could take here, I mean, we just pretty much strap white with a pawn they can't defend. So we do see pawn taking E6 in light of that. And then the pawn takes on E6. And I mean, you kind of have a nice little center going on here at the moment, but white says, bro, you're not going to have a nice center for long. So we do see knight taking D4. We got the move E5, and then knight nestles down into C2. This is what's interesting about going like D4, C4 type stuff. We do have this little pocket here for a knight, whether the way we just did it or maybe knight to A3 coming back to C2. Just an interesting little knight maneuver. We do see the move knight to C6. We got knight to C3, and then we do have the novelty of the game, which is bishop to F5, which might seem like it's doing a little something, but it's not, because we do have the move knight to E3. So we're like, bro, you're not, move your bishop away, dude. Like, what are you doing with your bishop? So we do see bishop to G6. We see the move bishop to D2. We got bishop to C5. And, of course, we're not worried about the trades here because the bishop is going to be trading back and we're all good to go. We do see long castles by white, and then we do see short castles by black. So normally you guys know what that means. When you castle on opposite sides of the board, you're going to have like pawns flying every which way, in this type of fashion, trying to, get the most, speedy attack you can. So we start with the move F3. We see knight down to D4. We got knight C to D5. And I mean, white is a little bit restricted as far as their king movement is concerned. I mean, they're not really too much worried about, any knight infiltration or nothing. But, the king is kind of stalemated. But you will see that white is starting to kind of unravel themselves in these positions. We do see rook F to D8. And we actually have reached a point in the game that if you do want to pause the video, there is a really, I feel like it's somewhat counterintuitive, but there's a really nice move in the position that Wesley so plays. So if you want to pause the video and see what move that is, go ahead and do so. Okay, so like I said, I feel like it's counterintuitive. I don't feel like everybody's gonna get this move just simply because, I mean, you know, generally when you are castled to one side, I mean, you're not wanting to you know, damage the structure and the pawn cover in front of your own king. But when you see like the way that these moves are followed up by Wesley, you know, it makes a lot of sense. And you really have to play this way if you are going to go into tossing pawns in front of your king straight forward. And so the first move is the move b4. And like I said, I mean, it looks kind of like, man, why am I just opening up my king all bad? But I mean, you aren't worried about any knight infiltration and you are attacking the bishop. And like I said, it's the follow-up that really makes the move make a lot of sense. So we do see bishop going back to f8, and then we do see the move knight to b6 attacking this rook. After the rook comes down to a7, we do see the move c5. So you are seeing here that, I mean, you're blockading this pawn. So, I mean, one of the things that black wants to do is start to use these pawns to open the position up with the king being right here, right? But, I mean, you see that the knight is blocking the b pawn, which is like one of the most aggressive pawns in the Sicilian, right? You see the move a5 trying to break down the structure, but we first throw in bishop to c4 with check. We see a bishop down to f7, and then we do see king over to b2. This is much safer. And even though you are trying to break down the pawn structure, I mean, you do have bishop taking back here, which just allows another piece to get, you know, brought into a better square and developed. So we do see pawn going to b4, bishop taking b4. We got bishop taking c4, and then we do see knight e taking c4. And you guys can see that this position is way different than the position we saw even 3 and 4 moves ago. I mean, you know, both of these knights have gotten themselves in better positions. This bishop is now maximized. This rook is on a completely open file. You know, this rook is undefended. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot that black can actually do with their knight right here. It's kind of pinned a little bit. So everything is looking really good. And the reason that this king is not really in that bad of a shape is because, you know, we do have queens off the board. So, you know, you want to be a little bit more careful when you do have queens on the board when you're throwing all these pawns in front of your king, you know, because it can be kind of dangerous. So we do see the move e4. We got the move a4, and this is just like protected by this knight over here. We do see pawn taking f3, pawn taking f3. And then, like I said, this knight is pinned to this rook because the rook is all alone. So we don't have the ability to go and snap a pawn off the board yet. So we do see bishop over to e7, and then we have an immediate, you know, rook going to, you know, rook h to e1. You know, just tossing an attack on that bishop that's currently undefended. So the knight does retreat back to c6. We see rook taking d8 with check, rook taking d8 with check. And it's a really good thing that this knight is here because, I mean, this would, actually, it wouldn't be that bad simply because, you know, the knight is protecting it. But, you know, it can put the king in a little pickle if this knight can come up here and then this rook. And I mean, that's kind of lights out mating, bro. So we do see the move bishop down to c3. We do kind of want to get rid of this knight just a little bit. We do see the rook down to a6. And then we do see rook over to d1. We got the knight going back to e8. And then we have like the perfect little pocket for this rook to go to. I know you guys see it. Rook up to d7. Not only is it hitting this pawn, it is also hitting this pawn over here as well with this bishop. So the knight is kind of tied down. You know, we're just in a completely 100% dominant position as far as black. And also, just to add insult to injury, you know, this bishop does kind of have a good control over these two diagonals. And this knight doesn't really have a lot of places it can go. You know, especially in conjunction with this knight, right? So we're just looking all good. So the bishop does come to e7. We got bishop up to d4. And we do see the king going over to f8. At the moment, you know, this knight is attacking this bishop. But we are counterattacking this bishop if the knight moves. So, I mean, to protect the bishop and basically make this bishop be on pre, we got king over to f8. So the bishop does just drop back to f2. We got knight back to d8. And you see the bar is going crazy. We do see the move knight down to d5. Hoping that, you know, black just says, I forgot that I like my bishop and just going to leave it, you know, for the taking. And so we do see the move knight back to c6. We got knight taking e7, knight taking e7. And then we do, before we do anything else, we want to make sure that we play, you know, solidly defensively. And then we do have knight up to b6. And it is in this position that Elshan does resign the game. And we are resigning. Number one, you can see the board that, you know, we are up a pawn. and we are in a very defensive position as black. And there's really not a whole lot that, black can do. We really don't have a good way of defending this pawn. Once this pawn drops, we have this bishop protecting the knight once we start pushing this pawn. I mean, it's just not looking too great. So just to give you guys a sample variation, there's really not, like I said, there's nothing that you can do in this position pretty much. Like, I mean, this rook is taking this pawn. If you do get in your mind, you're like, hey, man, I'm going to go ahead and try to defend the pawn somehow, right? The only really way you can do that directly is going to be rook up to a7. But the problem is this completely just drops your rook because you guys might be able to see. If you can't see it yet, I'm going to give you a couple seconds. Okay. You actually have rook takes e7. And then after the rook takes e7, the king takes back if it chooses to do so. And you do have a knight up to c8, and you are losing your rook, and you're going to be down an entire piece. And this king is literally just going to continue to march up the board, and all is going to be well in the world as far as white is concerned. So, like I said, there's nothing else that you can really do. You literally just have to let the pawn drop. Once you let this pawn drop, you're just up 2 complete pawns. And you also have a bishop in an open position against the knight. So, I mean, that is just lights out, man. So, Elshan seeing that, he's like, bro, I don't want any more of that. So, Malaka see Wesley. So, that is that game. He got a win earlier in the tournament. But, I mean, he's had a lot of draws. So, I mean, he's not like in the very, very top of the pack. So, this might be the year that he breaks his streak, of being the U.S. champion. So, I appreciate you guys very much. Meron salamat aking makaibigan. Khayli mamnoon. And I will see you guys next time.